Welcome back to the Angel Scrolls. This presentation is going to be on Danny's Ship of Religion Part 2. Accompanying the video, I'll have a couple of short clips which will help to support what he's talking about. Keep in mind that this is a training video and copyright laws allow people to use clips from other videos as long as they are not used for monetary purposes. If there is someone that objects to me using them in their videos and lets me know, I'd be glad to remove them. YouTube searches for this kind of thing and flags it and notifies me if it's copyrighted. However, they tell you it does not affect your channel's standing. You just cannot monetize the video. So I don't believe I'm breaking any copyright laws. So let's go over the first part of what Danny said in this video. He says, when we have what is needed, it's a step that will help you through eternity. It is really natural and your soul can have pleasure in it. You'll carry it wherever the ship will go. The journeys that you achieve are really there to bring you more pleasure if you have a heavenly plan that can work. I've often heard from the angels that God only wishes us to be happy and free of pain and suffering. As long as we are doing good while we're exploring life and enjoying ourselves, heaven rejoices with us. God created all the wonders in the universe so he could share them with us, and we will have eternity to do it. We have heard in the past videos how we are dependent on the light from God and how this light will help us to transcend. Here is the interesting video that talks about how we humans are dependent on the sun and the frequencies and the magnetism that exists all around us, as well as throughout the universe. So this is just the first short clip that I'd like to introduce. In part 2, Danny says, if your religion is your plan in life, you'll have to spiritually be at peace with it, as every work of nature is based on the act of giving life. He, meaning God, never halts what we learn, and we have a right to achieve with our love. It all amounts to this. If you will carry anger, it will most often be about you, and you're living what you're forging. If you're spiritual, each challenge you can cherish, if it's the right thing. Currently, most humans are unaware of the communications we receive through the soul and the role that it has in our own life form. This disconnect causes us much spiritual confusion. And when we have spiritual confusion, meaning that our soul knows one thing and our brain of our current vessel thinks another, they are in conflict with each other. This conflict results in confusion and an inability to see the real truth behind the scientific dogmas that mainstream science supports and encourages people to believe. Some of these dogmas are that thoughts and memories come from the chemical reactions in the brain through neurons that store information. Scientists don't really know for sure, but they feel it's the best explanation for now. We actually know less about how the human brain works than we do about the universe. Number 2, that there's no such thing as God, the angels, and heaven. Well, we've proved that one wrong over and over again here, but still mainstream science will probably find a way to suppress it from others unless we can get support somehow. Number 3, that life was created from the Big Bang, which means it was created from nothing, and that there is no intelligent design behind it. Really, what makes more sense? That the universe and all the galaxies were created from nothing more than a grain of sand that exploded and spread out for billions of years in nothingness, constantly expanding without reason? It sounds more like the most incredible miracle of all when God created the universe, light, and life. Number 4, that animals are not intelligent and conscious like humans. This dogma is a means to justify humanity's need for eating meat, so we are not aware how wrong it is to treat sentient beings in such terrible ways. For example, if we looked at some of the old scientific shows like Star Trek, one of their goals was to search for sentient life. It would have been totally evil for them if they were on a mission to search out life on other planets to use as a food source. So why do we do it on our own planet? Number 5, that the soul does not exist. Another one we have disproved at the Angel Scrolls. Believe it or not, our soul is eternal, and we all have a higher purpose in life, even if we don't know what it is yet. Once we realize that our soul needs spiritual evolution to move on to the next level, then we can gain the knowledge and put a plan in place for those who want to achieve this goal in the future. Number 6, that humanity has only become civilized for about the last 20,000 years or so. Mounting archaeological evidence all over the world is coming out that proves modern humanity has been around for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. Some people believe that we have reached a point many times in humanity's spiritual evolution that has allowed them to ascend as a civilization, and that is why we have no knowledge of their past, with the exception of the megalithic structures they left behind. Number 7, that miracles do not exist. Authenticated miracles today depend on whether or not they are accepted by the Vatican, and the rest are discredited in one way or another. Number 8, that sickness can only be cured through modernized medicine. There are many holistic cures that are suppressed from humanity, as the pharmaceutical industry is in control of what cures are acceptable. There is also spiritual and miraculous cures as well. They often use the excuse that the placebo effect plays a big factor in some of the unconventional cures that people claim to have experienced. Then most are discredited or hidden from us if they would cause financial hardships to the industries. Number 9, that humanity at this point in time has to rely on fossil fuels for energy. We have to be careful with this one, because you may find a lot of fake videos on the internet put out by those affiliated with the fossil fuel industry. Some use reverse psychology by doing a fake video showing how to build a free energy generator, and then when you try it, it doesn't work. As a result, we begin to think that they are all fake, some of which are not. So the only way you really know for sure is if you try it yourself. However, there have been many reliable free energy devices that have been invented in the past that were either discredited or bought out by people who rely on the fossil fuel industry, of course. Number 10, that aliens are not visiting our planet. This is a big one, and again one that's discredited by putting out fake videos with footage of UFOs that are later proved to be fake. In actuality, we do know the world governments are hiding the truth, but we don't know the extent of it. Some claim that we already have vehicles that travel faster than the speed of light in secret organizations that are higher up than the governments. Therefore, the governments are their puppets for feeding disinformation. The angels have told us, in one way or another, that alien species do exist, and some are far more advanced spiritually than humans. And at some point they may step in to help humanity when the human race is on the brink of destruction. The most unfortunate thing is that even those who have a strong belief in God and their religion are drawn into all the scientific dogmas that governments actively work at, suppressing the real truth from us. The truth is that politicians and governments really aren't responsible for what truth we receive, for they are puppets of the people who run the biggest organizations in the world. They are really the ones that control everything. In this video, Danny mentioned if we are controlled by anger, certain spiritual chemicals will not come out because they do not want to be replaced with evil matter. So this is how anger affects our brain chemically.
The primitive fight or flight center, the amygdala, lights up, as expected. But then another region becomes active, the prefrontal cortex. This is the thinking brain, the executive control center, where planning and decision-making occurs. The prefrontal cortex allows us to exercise control over our primitive angry impulse. It assesses the threat and determines an appropriate, rational response.
The reason I put that last clip in was because there are some discoveries that show us how these chemicals are reacting. However, scientists can't really say what the driving force is behind them. So anger is just one of the negative emotions that can prevent spiritual chemicals from being activated in our bodies. Now we'll move on to the next part. This is what Danny says in the final part of this recording. There are chemicals in your body that are spiritual too. Ignore them, and they won't come out if they're inclined to be replaced with evil matter. In this Vim, which means energy, we promise you you're aligned with angels that will be helping to awake them. We know once they're awakened, you shall find some actually are emerging, and they will be available.
Everything is chemicals. Your brain, your skin, your blood, your organs, your entire body is made of chemical.
In this next video, you'll see how antibodies work, how it only takes one to begin the process, which multiplies over and over again until it has enough to go after the infection within the body. According to Danny, we have all these dormant chemicals waiting in our body to come out or be activated. There is a growing amount of people that are talking about DNA activation, ascension, and a myriad of other spiritual awareness movements that may have some validity, according to Danny and the angels. Perhaps one of these will be part of the plan for humanity's future.
This is the molecular surface of that B cell, magnified 10 million times. Its surface is covered with receptors that recognize M protein. The receptors grab onto the M protein hairs. This triggers an activation signal to travel into the cell. The activated B cell migrates and begins to replicate. In a few days, thousands of copies of the selected cell are made. This is the central idea in Burnett's clonal selection theory, where one cell is selected out of billions of B cells and identical clones have been created from it. Therefore, the cell is clonally selected. This creates an army of B cells that mass-produce M protein antibodies and release them into the surrounding fluid. The antibodies circulate in the blood and travel into tissues. They bind to the M protein hairs on the strep bacteria. This flags them for destruction by the immune system. Other immune cells ingest the antibody-covered bacteria. They destroy the bacteria.
So I hope you found that video interesting, and I'm going to close it there. This completes this presentation. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to join us, you can come to theangelscrolls.com and click on to the forum link at the top, where we will be adding the newest presentations. Bye for now.